Rymer, Minister of the Ports.
Hey, what's up?
It's a pleasure to see you again. It's a pleasure to see you again. My good friend from the BVI here. So it's good to be able to sit down and have an opportunity to, just talk about our strong relationship we have with the British Virgin Islands and the US Virgin Islands. We coordinate a lot on cruise ships, destinations. If there's one that's coming our way and our ports may be full, we always try to send them to the BVI because we look at each other as brothers and sisters, So it's always a pleasure to be able to come to the conferences and be able to really, network with you all. You and St. Martin are always great to network with. On the cruise ship itineraries is always the BVI. Well, actually starts with I think it's Puerto Rico, St. Thomas, then the BVI, and St. Martin, and then they go all the way down or come up that way. How long have you been the minister of the ports?
I think I've taken up this role. First of all, it's a pleasure to be here as well.
A good friend.
Of course. And we at SeaTrade. This is the 40th anniversary. I think I've been here about 4 or 5 years now.
Yeah.
And it's good. It's continued to innovate, and we wanted to be a part of the conversation, just like you were here. And like you said, we piggyback off each other at some point. Now we are seeing mostly at this year SeaTrade that we want to speak more about our product in terms of when the guests arrive, what is there to offer, and make sure that there stays something welcoming and enjoyable.
So you're looking at guest experiences.
Exactly.
Some of the challenges that we've had in the Virgin Islands is that the cruise ships will come, but then they'll take off about 2-3 o'clock. Are you experiencing some of those challenges over in your end as well?
Well, most definitely. I think that is one thing that we discuss as well. I think the cruise ships now, they want to have like an all-in-one package where they want persons to seemingly be on the ship more. But we have to try to see how we can mitigate against that. I know in a discussion earlier they spoke about gambling and how they can, if they can open their gambling at the port, then they would sell it longer. So that is something that we'll look at going forward.
Yeah. We just actually did a similar legislation we passed for them to be able to allow opening gambling or to have gambling on the ship at our port. We really have that more for St. Croix, for that market, which is our sister island over there. But I think overall though, what I like about the relationship with the BVI and us is that we network together. That to me is probably the most important piece of it, and being able to communicate and say, listen, this is some of the things that they're telling us. What are they telling you?
Correct.
And I think that's what's important about the relationship. And governments come and governments go, but we're not going to be in this position. We may not be in this position in 10 years. Hopefully I'm not in this position in 10 years. But that the legacy that we build together is what I think is important, to make sure that we maintain that continued communication and those conversations about how we can be able to better serve our communities to be able to get the maximized impact for our homes.
And like you said, a relationship. I know you have dialogue with the Ports Authority over on our side. And we do the same as well.
Yeah, my good friend is Miss Roxanne. Roxanne.
Yeah, the chairman of my board. Yeah, chairman of the Ports Authority board. Yeah.
What's another last name? I forgot that.
Herbert.
Herbert. Yeah, Roxanne Rita Herbert. Yeah. So
so she sent her love. She had a last minute other engagement. So she, other members represented the board, and like you say, we have dialogue. We are right next door. I'm here at your booth. And it just speaks to the relationship
and how deep those relationships and ties go. A lot of it is even family too, because I noticed with one of our senators, we were talking about where his family is related and where our family. So we're so strongly connected.
This is the Greater Virgin Islands anyway.
The Greater Virgin. And the way things going in America, we may end up being the Greater Virgin Islands.
And we'll have that discussion because we need to make sure that we maintain what we have and try to work against what they are trying to do up in the stage.
I won't say to work against what they're trying to do, but we want to be able to make sure we minimize their impact to both our economies.
Oh, definitely.
So I think that's what's important. What have you found fascinating this year that was different with this conference versus last year?
The numbers. I see a lot more participation, a lot more people involved. You would see that the cruise lines are actually going bigger, and they continue to speak about zero emissions. And we, as a port, we have to see how we can also be a part of that. They talk about shore power and how we can have that infrastructure in place, so that when they port, when they come to port, then you see less emissions and so forth. Turn the engines off.
Yeah. My question though is, I know the challenge is just not in my end, but our roads ain't getting any bigger. And the larger these ships are coming now, 6,000, 7,000. How is your community, how are you being able to brace your community for the impact of more of that human footprint that these cruise ships are now bringing? Before now they're almost moving cities.
Yeah.
So how are you being able to? And we get a lot of pressure from the cruise lines to say, hey, listen, you got to put that infrastructure in place. We're getting bigger and bigger ships, and so it's that push to try to build that infrastructure. What are you doing in your jurisdiction to be able to accommodate or be able to mitigate this risk?
Well, first of all, our roads is a work in progress.
Yes.
So that is a conversation.
Correct.
Correct. So we just got our finances sorted out, so we're actually working on a road infrastructure right now.
Yeah.
But we could never have the proper infrastructure in place to be able to I guess prepare for these ships, because these ships are being built much bigger. We just opened a port about 10 years ago, and that was a major investment for the government at that time.
Yeah.
So to know that we have to now consider extending, or we diversify in terms of maintaining the smaller ship, the luxury liners, those ships that would traverse the different islands. I think that is an approach that we need to take as for the BVI, because the product is really not increasing. We are more engaging with the local businesses who have a different product. Correct. So that these persons that come off the ship, they have something different to do, because all the Caribbean, they go to the beach. The beach is
sea.
So we have to think about our culture and see how we can integrate that more into the experience.
How have your taxi transportation infrastructure been as we now prepare for these larger ships? For us, we have a pretty established infrastructure, but even to that point now, because the ships are so big, we start to have to now rethink how we're going to move people between downtown and Megan's Bay, from Crown Bay to Main Street. That infrastructure and that logistics of getting people around. Have you guys had discussions with your taxi drivers in terms of how are they going to be able to accommodate 8,000 people on one ship, and then you may have another one with another 5,000 people coming in?
Well, that's a challenge. But we have continuous dialogue with the taxi industry. Okay. We're not lacking in terms of taxi infrastructure. We see that we have more taxi guys operating, and usually there is enough taxi operators to take them, around the island based on where they want to go. What we're saying is we try, like I said, we want to diversify a little bit. So we are now moving persons to the other islands, and trying to see how they can have a different experience. Islands are you going to? We go to Just Van Dyke, we go to Peter Ellen, we go to Virgin Water, we go to, we are now even thinking about another means of transportation to get people to Anegada. So we are trying to diversify to take them away from saturating the beaches and Tortola, because we are trying to balance where we have overnight guests, the day trippers coming, and still the cruise passengers. So it's a work in progress. Is a conversation that we continue to have.
For us, I think it's always going to be a continual pull and push for the taxi positioning. I think one of the things I want to see though is next year I'm going to try to encourage a lot of the taxi associations to come to SeaTrade and to be involved in our process, because while they think it's their small business, there's a whole world out there, and SeaTrade shows you different types of offering. You could go in this conference and you would see types of chairs that you could be able to, beds you could be able to purchase, fire equipment, there's logistic guys here for boats, whether it's big boats or small boats. And so I think I need to do a better job of encouraging my folks to be able to attend these conferences, whether you're doing taxi logistics, or you're doing tour operators, or you're doing restaurantees. All of those folks need to be at SeaTrade and need to understand the impact that SeaTrade has and the cruise line industry has on the Virgin Islands.
And to actually have the direct dialogue with the cruise liners to see what products can be offered to the passengers and so forth. So it'll be good to have them on board indeed.
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much, man, for sitting down with us.
All the time, man. It's a
Our
pleasure.
BVI.
For sure.
One Virgin Islands.
All the time.
All right, thank you, my
thank
brother.
you. All right.